We're here with a longtime friend of the program, Valtteri Bottas. That is correct. Actual F1 driver here with us. We have so much to talk about, but first of all, I wanted to ask, how is the mustache treating you these days?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, mustache is still good. It's a very big part of myself nowadays, and it's not going away. So all good.
What was your inspiration for growing and maintaining the mustache over these past couple years?
Actually, I did it a couple of years ago for the November. So you have to shave, and yeah, I just tried it, and then I was like, in the morning, looking in the mirror, I was like, it's pretty cool actually. So why not keep it? And yeah, it's almost become, yeah, like I said, big part of me and part of my brand as well. So I like it.
I wanted to ask, which one of these things do you think is more difficult if you had to go? Is it driving an F1 car, or is it racing a bike on gravel? Like, 'cause you do both at a world-class level. Um, and that's not an exaggeration for those who don't know. Valtteri is an outstanding gravel cyclist, something that I don't understand why anyone would do, because it seems very painful and it seems very, very difficult. Which one is more physically demanding for you?
Physically, you can definitely hurt yourself more with a gravel bike. I've done some races that are up to 6 hours, and obviously F1 races they are up to 2 hours. So yeah, physically, yeah, definitely you can really hurt yourself more with a bike, but it's different effort. With F1 car, you've got the combination of the mental challenge and the physical challenge. Versus for me with the bike, it's more physical. But yeah, it hurts, and I think something is wrong with me. I kind of like to hurt myself. So I really like to challenge myself and find my limits. That's been kind of the story all my life.
How did you get involved in cycling? What made you decide to start doing that at a competitive level?
Well, initially, because my partner Tiffany, she's professional cyclist. Initially, it was just trying to keep up with her. That was the motivation to train, and that we could actually do some training together and do some nice rides together. But then I've again found my competitive side, and once I felt that I was improving quite a bit, it just became addiction. And now, yeah, honestly, I can't travel anywhere without my bike because I want to get my rides in. I want to follow my training program, and I want to prepare for the events.
Which race is the most physically demanding for an F1 driver? You're about to go race in Singapore for the next week. A lot of people cite that the heat, the humidity, the stress of doing the race in those conditions. What are one or two of the events that really test you on that level where you go, okay, I'm a person who likes to hurt myself, but this is bad.
Yeah, yeah. This weekend in Singapore, overall, that's normally the toughest because of the heat and the humidity and the dehydration we get. Yeah, we sweat a lot in the car, and in the car, the temperature is much higher than the ambient or the track temp because of all the power unit, the battery, the brakes, car ahead, all these combined. It's really, yeah, it's very hot. So this weekend is the toughest, and I would say number two would be last year we had a race in Qatar, and for that weekend we had kind of like a heat wave. It's hot anyway, but it got even hotter, and there was actually two drivers that I believe vomited in the helmet, which just tells about the heat stroke effect. And when your blood pressure starts to get too high, you get these kind of symptoms. So that was really tough. But like I said, I like to hurt myself, so no worries.
Vomit in the helmet seems very unpleasant. Is that something that you've ever done and had to like sit through?
I've never done it. It was close actually last year in Vegas. I had a stomach bug for the whole weekend, and it was very close, but I never did. So and it's not pleasant, and especially when you want to focus and be at your best, it doesn't help. So yeah.
Um, the Vegas race happening for the second time this year. Hopefully, you will have a cleaner run in terms of your gastrointestinal health.
Hope so.
The When it comes to America, you seem to have a lot of fun when you're here, if we believe Instagram. Um, do you like going to America? What are your favorite places when you go to America? I know that you've enjoyed Colorado. There are photos of you really enjoying Colorado. Um, what about the United States do you like, and what are your favorite parts?
I really like it. For me, mainly because obviously it's a big country and every state is different. You know, you've got the mountains, you've got the sea, whether it's East Coast or West Coast. I still actually haven't explored much the north, let's say Alaska or stuff like that. But for me, the beautiful thing is that you have so much, you know. And I'm a big guy for nature. I like to escape into the nature, so that's why I really love Colorado, like the Colorado mountains and you know the lifestyle, everything I really enjoy. So I love it. But then at the same time, I've recently got into surfing, so been quite a few times in California. Got a couple of friends living there as well. So kind of LA or Newport Beach area is really good for beginner surfers, minus the sharks. So yeah, it's still yet a lot more to explore, but I love it.
I was going to ask, how many Finnish surfers are there? Like, can I count them on one hand? Because it just
I think
doesn't.
you can. I couldn't actually drop a name, so
It's
yeah,
you. That's it.
maybe it's just me. Could be.
Is surfing something that you pick up just supernatural? Like, you're obviously like an incredibly athletic person, and you just decide that you're going to cycle one day, and you're really good at that. You're obviously a great F1 driver. Do you just pick up a surfboard and you're already better than most people because of how much training you've had as an athlete?
I think for me, what helped with getting into surfing, I did a lot of snowboarding as a kid in Finland. So you know, it's kind of similar-ish feeling. So that helped me. I think I've got the balance, the coordination, so that helps. But yeah, and with cycling, you know, that took a time. Like I really, when I started, I wasn't that good, but then that made me annoyed, and I could turn that annoyment to a positive thing to train more. So so I'm not natural on everything.
I know you're very good on the bike. Do any of your fellow drivers, do any of the other drivers come close to you in terms of performance on
No,
the bicycle?
no.
No. Okay. Who would be second place if you're talking about who could actually go?
Well, recently Carlos Sainz he's picked up cycling a bit more, so I think he's improving quite a lot. So I would say he would be the closest, but I'm still confident and comfortable. Let's say.
You would wipe the floor with anyone who attempted to race you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
One of the things Spencer and I were chatting about before you hopped on was that it seems like you're constantly doing sports where your butt must hurt all the time. You're on these like little tiny cycling seats, and then you're in the F1 car where you're probably getting really uncomfortable over the span of a couple hours. Why are you choosing these very uncomfortable sports to participate in?
I never thought of that. Actually, you know, the F1 car seat is really comfortable because it's kind of molded to me. So it's actually like really, really cozy. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a bumpy ride, etc. And it's hot, but cycling, your butt gets used to it. That's the worst thing when you start. Like it just hurts, but in the end, you get like a I don't know butt of steel, you know. So then it's fine.
This is where when we share this on social media, we're going to say "butt of steel," the Valtteri Bottas story.
Yeah.
On the North American swing, we have to ask: can you rank your North American tracks? Okay, that includes Canada. Then we'll include Mexico there. What are your top three when you're over here and you're going through the North American swing?
Just tracks.
Just
That
tracks.
number one, I would say Coda,
Mm-hmm.
Circuit of the Americas in Austin is a really cool track. And only downside lately, it's been quite bumpy, even like a bit too bumpy for the cars nowadays. But I've heard there's made some fixes, so hopefully it's better. But the layout is cool. And second one, I would actually put Mexico. I've always enjoyed Mexico and the tacos and the track is so different because it's in altitude, so it brings different element of racing experience because you've got less drag in the car, you've got less load downforce in the car, so it's quite a bit more slippery, let's say. So that's nice. Then I think Vegas went ahead of Miami to me as a track. Like, again, very unique street circuit, super fast, and in a way it's just quite crazy, with the visuals when you drive. You just see these neon lights, the big hotels and stuff. So it was pretty cool, but should be even more fun without gastro issues, hopefully, this year.
Well, aside from the gastro issues, obviously last year was the first year of the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and there was some bumps along the way. The race was really late. There were long delays. How did you experience that as a driver? Was it sort of frustrating, or do you kind of just take it in stride?
Yeah, it was tough. The issues we had with the manholes coming up, and Friday, I think I ended up being back at the hotel after the practice day, like 6 a.m. And still the mechanics had to stay and work, so the schedule was tough. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, these things can happen, shouldn't happen, but I'm sure they've learned from all the mistakes, and this year is going to be very, very smooth. No doubt.
You're in an interesting place because you've had a difficult year on the track. All right. If we just looked at how the team has performed and some of the challenges you faced. Personally, you seem great. Like, just you have a lot going on. You have a lot of outside interests. You have an interesting path moving forward in terms of your career, right? How do you keep balance those two things where you go, hey, I know we're struggling on the track, but how did you get to the point where you go, but actually I'm doing really well personally. Like, I'm very happy. Is that accurate? One, like, we're asking you, are you happy? And two, how do you maintain that when you're consistently facing challenges in your professional life as a driver?
Yeah, number one, I am happy. I've got lots of nice things going on, and everything is in great balance. Yeah, when people ask me nowadays, how are you? How's things going? Normally, my first thing is I say, everything is great apart from racing. So, it's been a tough year. Like, we still haven't scored. We realistically, we have the slowest car on the grid, which going into weekend after weekend is tough, but my job is still to give everything I have. That's all what I can do is keep giving my best on track, off track with the team, and that's everything what I can do. And of course, with the motivation is to try and improve, try and hopefully have a better car in the future, and then we get the results, and that's going to be rewarding. So, but it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. It's much easier to have the motivation like automatically when things are going smoothly and well. So I've had to dig a little bit deeper from myself this year for a weekend to get kind of hyped up, pumped up, and also to motivate the people around in the team. But like I said, apart from racing, everything's great. Yeah, busy enough. I can kind of choose my workload on certain things, and I can be involved with many of my passions. Yeah, life at home when I'm at home is great. So yeah, all good. And now exciting to find out what the future will bring.
How do you sort of mentally prepare yourself week to week, especially with this being the longest F1 season in history and like the strains of a really just a really long and challenging travel schedule? Like you said, you dig deep, but how do you do that? Like, how do you find that within yourself to be ready to drive every week?
I love competition. Like, when I get to even though sometimes, example after last weekend, yesterday I wasn't feeling that happy about the race and the race weekend, because again, no points, and things just didn't go smooth. But as the next race kind of is coming closer and closer, for me it's just almost like an automatic thing that when I know it's about competition, when I know it's about proving myself, my skills again to myself, but also to the team, and yeah, I just get on with it. And in the end, I just want to drive the car as fast as I can, and I really enjoy it as well as working with a team. Try and give my knowledge of the how we can improve the car and stuff. I really enjoy that process. So it's really automatic. I guess it's just in the nature. I'm a competitor, and I love to compete and get the best out of myself.
The question I have for you regarding racing, and this is not a question about how difficult it is. This is this. Racers like to race everything. What would you race if you could not be an F1 driver? You have many options. You already race bikes, so we're going to take that out. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
You've already done that because you're a lunatic. You race bikes and then you race cars. So if you had a choice, what would you race other than bikes or F1 cars?
IndyCar, that would be the one. And I don't think it's yet, but if I'm really putting it out there, like I'm still in my mid-30s, I still have time. IndyCar, the more I've been looking into it, is super tough. You've got new tracks that I would have never been into. Some of them never heard about. It's a completely different car, like no power steering, very different handling. You've got oval tracks that I've never done, so it would be a huge challenge, no doubt. But it could be a challenge one day. It's not yet, but it's something that I would get into, obviously with big goals in some years ahead. But it's not yet.
Is that something that you watch a lot of, or you sort of like follow along? Like, what is your sort of relationship with the other racing series as an F1 driver? Because in the United States, people are always debating what's best, like what's more exciting, what you should be watching instead of F1 or instead of IndyCar. So, like, how do you sort of interpret all of that from where you sit as a driver?
I've been trying to actually watch a bit more lately. Like, I'm normally not that great on watching other sports than cycling. But it's quite a different world, I would say. It seems a bit more relaxed, slightly more natural racing, I would say, and maybe a little bit less politics. So I think it's good to watch. There's lots of different, people scoring points, winning races, stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's very different, and but it's not something you could do as a side guest. You would have to really commit to it. So yeah.
Okay. No rally car in your future.
I would do it for fun, but I've also realized like how tricky it would be. Somebody who's not been rallying all his life to compete against the best, because in the end I want to win and I want to do something that I can actually succeed. Which rallying I think I could, but I couldn't probably win the world championship because of the high level. But I'm not saying IndyCar is not high level. It is super high level, but I've raced single seaters, since a teenager. So I think I maybe could pick it up.
Last week, we were arguing about what we think F1 drivers' favorite beers are. We know you're here with WhistlePig whiskey. So taking whiskey out of the equation of favorite beverages, what would you say your favorite refreshing, nice, cool beer of choice would be?
Good question. I think I actually only have one answer. Our team is sponsored by Singha. It's a Thai beer, and it's very refreshing and nice.
No, diplomatic.
Sorry.
Listen, you talked about IndyCar, but that kind of sponsor read, that kind of sponsorship mention, NASCAR's ready when you are. NASCAR drivers are great at that. You're great at that. I'm just seeing.
What about Victoria Bitter? VB.
VB.
Yeah.
This would go with Australian Valtteri, right? That's Australian Valtteri, which is VB by far.
But it could expand internationally.
Okay, one last question before we let you go. Have you ever seen the Pixar movie Cars?
I believe I have. A while ago.
Did you enjoy it? Do you remember anything from it?
Was it Lewis had his voice on one of the cars? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, some of the stuff.
He does have a spot. Michael Schumacher is in the first one.
I think Lewis is in Cars 2, which is a more controversial sequel that we haven't watched yet. But we were talking to some NASCAR folks, and apparently Cars has like a cult following in the NASCAR circuit. So safe to say that's not the same with F1. You guys aren't chit-chatting about the movie Cars in the paddock ever?
Not really, no.
I do remember one F1 driver making a Lightning McQueen ka-chow reference. It might have been Carlos. I think it might have been Carlos talking about Lightning McQueen.
Could be. But yeah, it's not really a thing.
You guys are too cool for Pixar. I got it.
Cool. Yeah.
So am I.
Too boring. Too serious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, best of luck in the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas, thank you for joining us here at DNF.
Thanks for having me, and hope everyone gets a chance to try the WhistlePig limited edition, which is finished in old gin barrel. Beautiful.
Sounds delightful when you say it that way. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to watch you race here in the States, coming up in Austin and Las Vegas, and of course in Singapore this weekend.
Thank you.